In this second series of process grid component training, we're going to use the stored procedure from lesson 1 to create a process grid to edit the manufacturing serial lot number in the IM lot serial master table. So let's get started. I'm logged into the project Process Grid Component Training 2. So let's start off by creating a process grid. And this is lesson 2, heading, table, fields. And this lesson is create a process grid to call a stored procedure. And this would be put on the menu. So we'll make this a transaction. Okay. Now, what I have checked here, and this just came up as a default this time, because I was in here a minute ago, is execute current row on change has been selected. Before, in the last lesson, component training 1, we executed checked rows, but now we're going to execute current row, which means every time we come off a row, we're going to call that stored procedure and update that row. And I'm not going to show the transaction status column or check anything here. So we're going to select the lot serial master, the whole thing. No filters, because it's not that big a table. It could be a big table, then you would filter it, but we've done filters. And filters are the same everywhere you do them. I'm going to add a button. I'm just going to call it change row. Now what's really important here for the change to work, the change I selected where on every row change that something happens, you have to select the default so that there's only one executable button on the change, because you can only associate one to each change. And this is going to be a transaction report. We're going to add a stored procedure, and this is the one we did in lesson 1. And you see we brought in the manufacturing lot number, which we're going to bring off of view. And the ID, which we just bring off of view. And we'll just, so now we've defined both of these linked to the view. And now we have to expose that field for editing. It's a plain text field. And we're done. Preview that. And then mass change it. Manufacturing lot number did not come in. This is just a repository. It can be changed as to what it thinks is legitimate. We'll save that. And now, if we were to change some of these fields, like 2002, manufacturing 01, 2002, manufacturing 02. So in the background, we're calling the stored procedure. If I refresh this, you'll see that data now is in the database. Now, one other thing I should have done, I'm going to come back and do it, is I should have put a post transaction failed message. You should always do that. In this case, I had no failures. But you should always put a post fail return message. And that would return on stored procedures as well. And that really wouldn't change the results of editing those fields because I had no failures. So that's the end of this lesson. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video tutorial, and I encourage you to move on to the next video tutorial in this series.